Okay, so reviewing Hellboy from 2001, I want to say. This movie is about Hellboy. He's basically raised by a scientist and a group of soldiers. And I like the way that he gets his name. You know, a lot of the time, the way superheroes get their name, where it's someone names them that's not like a newspaper or something, it feels kind of lame. But it actually feels like a creature from hell that is a boy. A bunch of, you know, burly scientists or whatever. I feel like they would, burly soldiers. I feel like they would definitely name him Hellboy. Yeah, I really like this movie, if you couldn't tell. I really like the world of the story. It's very comic booky, it's very tongue-in-cheek, but it's very gothic at the same time. I really enjoy Hellboy as a character. I think Ron Perlman plays him with this very, like, tough exterior, yet kind of an everyman, yet still feeling like the darkness of, like, you know, he can still seal the demon inside. I love the little tongue-in-cheek moments of how they manipulate history and stuff. I like how over the top it is. I like the scientist aesthetic of his dad. I like the theme of being an outsider in Hellboy himself. I feel like that's all handled really well. I like how that connects with his love interest. I like how powerful she is. I enjoy like the metaphor there. I enjoy like the action scenes. I think that the way that the practical effects make it work really well. And even though you can tell that the CGI is CGI, it's definitely not the best CGI. It still fits into the aesthetic enough that you're not really too concerned about it, I don't think. It doesn't take you out. It just feels like it adds a bit of like fluidity to the action scenes that you wouldn't normally be able to get. But because Hellboy himself is not CGI, I feel like his emotions and his aesthetic really holds up. Some of the negatives I thought for this movie were that even though I like the parallel between Hellboy and his love interest, I don't feel like they get enough time together to really flesh out their chemistry and their dynamic. I mean, I buy that they could like each other, and I get why he likes her, and I could buy that she would like him. But we don't really see enough of it. We don't see enough also of his dynamic with his father. You know, I get in very much broad strokes, but I don't really feel like I understand what growing up with them was like. And it could have been done, I think, really easily with like that opening credit scene where they had like little flashes of comic books from the original comic book of Hellboy. They could have made that, I think, like it would have been very economical in the storytelling to make that little shots, except comic book style, of like him and his dad growing up, and just a few scenes in the present to just show what are they like when they're just hanging out, what is their general dynamic like, because I don't even think that there's one scene of them like really talking together. Also, the FBI guy, I like him as like this everyman type person, and I guess he has to be an FBI agent to make it sense that he's like been brought in. But I don't really think that he works as an FBI agent. I just don't buy that this guy has been seasoned as enough to go on this special project. I did really enjoy a lot of the stuff between the main character and the guy from Arrested Development. I can't remember his name right now. I thought his little arc worked really well for me. It's maybe a little bit dramatic in that one scene where he says, like, you know, after you've gotten rid of all the monsters, we'll get rid of one. I feel like that kind of tactical, strategic politician type character would not tell Hellboy that he's planning to kill him after after Hellboy like does everything for him. Um, yeah, I thought that was kind of hilarious. But the scene of like them getting back on side with each other and him being appreciating Hellboy once being put in, I thought that all worked like relatively fine. Although maybe now that I'm thinking about it, it's given that other scene, it's maybe a little bit too like, oh well, we're friends again, even though I know you're planning on getting rid of me. I feel like that's no, because it establishes that he's getting rid of him. That he could have got, because he could have, and it would have been advantageous for him to get rid of him there. So I guess they established in that scene that the way he was talking before, like he's just an asshole. He doesn't really mean that. I guess they could have like explored that character a little bit more, just a tiny bit more, and maybe like establishing like what is his, what is it that exactly that he's like trying to do, I guess, and why is he such a hardened like politician type character. They could have just alluded to something, just a little hint here and there. But yeah, overall, I think Hellboy is like a really bold comic book movie that doesn't fall into the trap of like a lot of the 2000s movies from that era of not embracing the superhero fun element of the movie, but still, I guess, like using a lot of the like dark leather aesthetic that the Matrix set up and X-Men set up, and using it to its advantage rather than its detriment. Because I think Hellboy is kind of a comic that, and has an aesthetic that you can kind of lead into the 2000s movie things more than, say, X-Men, or more than, say, X-Men or even Batman, I guess. You have to kind of change it to make it more of a dark and gritty thing. But it managed to do that, I guess, without betraying itself, without feeling like it's ashamed of its comic book roots.